All right, so we're out here for our field portion of this month's episode. And so where we are here, as I mentioned, in a very, very familiar place to me. This is, again, the first place that I actually hiked the Kinghorn back in 2018. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a map and kind of give you a little idea of where I am here. So where we are here is we're about, I guess, a mile and a half or so east of Pass Lake Station. Some of you might know where that location is. It's basically very close to Pass Lake Campground. And what we're doing here is we are going to be entering a place that I call the Cliff. And it was probably one of those places where it kind of, the construction of the railway line and kind of the beauty of this area kind of really jumped out at me. We are running two cameras, so there is the one on my head, and then we do have the one pointing at me. It's probably really backlit, as you're probably seeing right now. The sun is sort of coming in from, what time is it? 9:30 in the morning, so the sun is coming up. It's a beautiful August day. It's one of those goofy sort of late August days where it's very, very cool in the morning, but it's supposed to be warm and sort of humid today. So all right, so here you can see the cliff, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you a little video that I shot. So not only was this section, this area, the first place that I hiked the Kinghorn, but it was actually one of the first places that I actually started making videos of the line. And so I'm going to show you a video that I made from 2019. The valley floor. And so if I pan this way, looking towards the south, you can see this massive rock cut here. And so I don't have an exact height here, but according to my GPS, we are sitting at approximately 800 feet above sea level, and that top of that ridge is showing more than 900 feet. So this rock face is over 100 feet high. You again can see that red shale-like material. You can see that there's a spike down here, and you can see pieces of it down here on the grade. And there's a little bit of work here on the east side. Might be hard to see here with the sun. And so again, you can imagine the danger posed by this. You can see all of this material which has eroded down to the side of the grade. And you can imagine that material as well as boulders falling down onto the grade, much like these ones here. So a couple things jump out at you about this area. First of all, the height of this cliff. The ridge line above us is well over 100 feet. I don't know how much of this cliff was blasted out, but probably there was a considerable amount of blasting. So first of all, you can see the height of the cliff. That's the first thing that jumps out at you. And the second thing, and it's nice that it's sunny today, is the bright red color of the rock. And we'll actually go up here on the sort of opposite side of the rock cut so you can get a little bit better perspective here. So you can see here, first of all, you can see a view. I'm sorry, I'm shooting into the sun here, but you can kind of see the valley a little bit. You can see this red rock all here. Again, gives you a little bit more perspective on the height of the cliff. The red colored rock is basically indicative of the geology of this area. Actually, when I was doing the railway videos, I had to look this up because it was kind of driving me crazy a little bit. I knew the red color was basically the oxidizing iron content in the rock. And basically, so this is very, very iron rich rock. It's part of a geological formation called the Sibley Group. So you can kind of look that up. And so basically it's kind of very different rock than you would normally see in this area. You can see it's very layered, and you can see it's very soft. And you'll notice that there's been a lot of erosion on the grade here. And I point that out in the videos too. So I'll put some links to the actual railway videos that I do, and you can see that there's rock scattered here. You can see how much rockfall has come down, and again, it's all just soft, right? It's all you know, you can see the consistency of it, right? It's all just small little rocks, and certainly that was a problematic thing for the train crews going right back to the early days. Like, so right from the beginning, there were rockfall warnings going back to the Canadian Northern days, the company that built this line. And so crews were warned to watch out for rockfall along this entire section. And again, it was sort of indicative of the construction that sort of happened in this area, right? They basically had to skirt around this part of the Sibley Peninsula, and they had to sort of make a big wide sort of loop. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're basically going to ride you all the way back to Pass Lake Station. And you'll basically be able to sort of see the sights and see kind of what's visible in this area. I'm just looking down at the other GoPro screen here, and it's just me backlit. You can see like basically my outline here. You can see again some of those rockfall issues. So this is a very beautiful area. Again, all of these rock cuts that you see, and essentially there was a lot of work put into this area. If they weren't blasting rock, then they were creating embankments, because it's basically rock cliff and then ravine. And we're essentially where they had to blast the grade out. You're literally right on the shore of this ridge, and so you'll see this all the way back, and you can see all the way down. In some cases, the ravine on the, I guess right now, the east side, and then it'll become the south side of the grade, is, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet down. It's a long way down. The grade in this area, the actual roadbed itself, is pretty good. There's a lot of traffic that goes through this area, and so the ballast, this rock that you see in here, has been pounded flat pretty good. There are some sections where it's a little bit thicker, but otherwise it's not too bad. Trying to adjust the other camera here. Make sure Luna's with us. So again, just a gorgeous area. You're going to find some spots where it's going to be a little bit more grown in here. Yet another rock cut. You can see that it's on both sides of the grade. Obviously the east/south side, because we're going to be starting to turn here, because the railway grade, and here you can see there's a, right behind Luna there was a tie that's still there, or a piece of it anyway. I forgot what I was saying now. Something about the rock cuts. Oh, I was talking about the grade. Some areas are not bad and some areas are getting a little grown in. And that's just a common problem that you're going to find in areas where there's rock cuts, because the vegetation really has nowhere to go. So it tends to sort of encroach in on the grade. So here we're coming up to, there was a lot of things that the railway used to sort of indicate mileage on the railway line. And there were milepost markers, and we're going to see some of those. But another big consideration was the flow of water. So here you can see that there's a culvert, a pretty large diameter metal culvert. And so what they would do to indicate the mileage, I have to put the bike down here, is they would use these white metal pieces of bar, and they would paint them white. Sorry, they're green, and they would paint them white, and then they would affix the mileage to them. So what you can see here is you can see the mileage. So 168.64. And so that is the mileage on the, I guess, last iteration of this line. So this particular part of the Kinghorn actually went through two separate name changes. So it was originally the Nipigon subdivision of Canadian Northern Railway. And in 1923, it became the Dorian subdivision of Canadian National Railways. And it didn't become the Kinghorn subdivision until 1960. So the issue is that the original ones, the two previous ones, the Nipigon subdivision, the Dorian subdivision, actually started in Jellicoe, whereas the Kinghorn started in Long Lac, and so the mileage is different. And so to calculate the original mileage, you have to subtract 49.7 miles. So here we're through another rock cut. So those little milepost markers are kind of handy when I'm doing my railway explorations, because they kind of give me some idea sometimes of where we are in terms of the mileage. And sometimes they're just something to look at. Sometimes, you know, you're going through areas like here, there's lots of rock cuts and lots of kind of neat things to see. Sometimes you're going through sections of the railway line and there's nothing to look at, right? Like you're just going along the grade. There's no culverts, there's no telegraph poles, there's kind of nothing. So at least it kind of gives you something to stop and talk about. Sorry, I gotta stop and take a look at my GPS. Again, just lots of features here. If it's not a rock cut, it's a cutting where it's just sort of moving earth. I'm gonna see something. And then this is the problem sometimes when you're trying to switch over sides of the grade. That middle part right between the two tire ruts is usually full of ballast, full of stone, and it's not easy to go from one side to the other. So here's yet more rock work. And you're going to see that all the way kind of back to Pass Lake. So here you can see it a little bit better. It's one of the reasons why, if you watch my exploration videos, I'll often talk about how I prefer to do these hikes in the spring or in the fall when there's no leaves, because as time goes on, the vegetation encroaches more and more, which we just talked about earlier, and that makes it harder and harder to see things. So here you get an example of how things don't always work out. So here's a culvert marker, and you can see it there. Now this is one that I think is basically impossible to read the mileage on. First of all, you can see it's all rusted. Just got to be careful. There's actually a rail down there. So this one says 168, and then the rest of it is illegible. So taking a look at those markers sometimes is can be a little bit frustrating, and sometimes they're not even there. Sometimes the post itself is just completely gone. So here again you can see, try to cross the middle here, how high up we are. So we're kind of like a little bit of a ledge. And so the distance down to the valley floor is quite considerable, probably at least 40 feet down. Here we're into another rock cut. A little bridge here. Again, you can see that red colored rock. One of the things you'll notice a lot on this section as well, and I saw that the last time I was through here, which would have been last spring, so late April of 2021. Lots of ties discarded on the side of the grade. So here's more rock work. Again, there's that red color rock. And now, so we talked about measuring the mileage on the railway grade. So kind of an interesting thing. So if you live in Canada, you know that we're a metric country. So everything's done in metric. Now, one of the few things that's not done in metric, other than the fact that, you know, everybody's screwed up and, you know, people have to use both things, and, you know, you go buy a 2x4 and it's an imperial. This is actually a milepost marker. So you see that metal rod that's sticking up there. So these were put every mile on the railway line. So you basically saw these all the way from Long Lac, all the way through here to Thunder Bay. So there would have been 195 of these markers arranged. So this is actually the Milepost 169 marker. Now you'll notice the post is there, the sign is missing, and I'm positive that the first time I was here, when I was through here in 2018, that sign was still there. I don't think I have a picture that shows it on there, but I'm sure it was there. We will see the next one. We will see Milepost 170. Does have a sign still on it. So here the rock work just continues on. Apologize if you can hear this little squeaking sound. That's the flexible mount here for the other camera, and she squeaks a little bit. Sorry, need to check my GPS. I was actually just commenting recently on a video that I made a couple of weeks ago that sometimes when you're riding the bike and, you know, you're trying to look at this tiny screen, you know, they make big GPSs, but, you know, I'm not about to spend piles of money on more things for hiking. So here you can see yet another rock cut. So sometimes the GPS is hard to read while you're moving. A little cooler in here. I find that just because of the way that the geography is, I think what happens is when the wind blows, particularly from the west or the south, it kind of gets channeled by these big ridges that are up beside us, and everything just kind of blows this way. And find that you get a lot of cool wind. So here, more rock work. You can see it predominantly here on the south side. You can see all the moss and stuff that are growing. Vegetation generally tends to be a lot heavier on the south side. So it's generally a lot harder to see the rock cuts and things like that. So here's another culvert. This one you can see very well from the grade. And so you can see there the marker, and it says 169.18. You'll notice that it has a blue piece of tape on there. That's very common. I think somebody went through at some point and marked where all the culverts were. Usually when I do my railway videos, again, you should take a look at them. Generally, I kind of call out the mileage if we see them on the culverts. The only ones that I go down and take a look at are what I consider to be the more interesting ones, which are the stone ones, which were an original construction, wooden ones, so wooden box culverts, and then there's these segmented concrete ones, and I look at those because they were a little bit older. Here again you can see the height above the valley. Again, it's probably a good 40 feet down there. Now that gets a little interesting when you go to do your railway explorations. I think there's a culvert here, no marker. Sometimes going down and checking out these culverts is interesting because it's like this adventure, right? You're literally going down the side of the grade, and first of all, it's hard going down the side of the grade and then having to get back up. Just last week I was out on a little reconnaissance, or recce, as it's called. If you've ever spent time in the military, I spent some time in the reserves when I was younger. We've talked about that. Commonwealth countries, the short form reconnaissance is a recce. So I did a little recce just south of Dorian, and I was actually going down, I think I was going down to give Luna a drink, because I wanted to have her drink because it was warm out of the creek. And I went to step, and what I thought was a rock was actually a tie. And you know, I've had a few close calls doing these hikes where I've nearly sort of killed myself. And that one was that was not a good one, because my legs went flying out, and thankfully there was trees around that I could grab onto. Okay, here's an interesting thing. We actually got a couple of these. We've got one here and there's one further up. So essentially what this is, and again, if you watch the original videos, you'll see this. So what we have here is we actually have, this was at one time a stone culvert. So what you can see here is you can actually see this channel that's been cut. And then, so basically what they did was they created a waterway by kind of stacking the stones in through here. And so what's happened over time is obviously the other side is over there. It's all kind of grown in. So this channel has kind of dried up over time. And, you know, it's no longer water's flowing through it. So I guess it was kind of neglected by the railway maintenance crews. But maybe if we, as I talked about here, let's carefully make our way down. So I did highlight this when I did the video. I also highlighted the fact that right here somewhere, yep, there it is. This is coal. That's coal right there. So this is obviously spilled over. So here you can see this this stone culvert. You can see the opening here where the water used to flow through, and this channel was created. This was blasted out. This is not natural, right? So kind of neat to see that. Let's get ourselves out of here. Okay, so we're gonna pause the video here for a minute because I need to check the batteries and everything like that, and then we'll get going. All right, here we go. So we're entering kind of an interesting spot in the railway grade here. First of all, you'll see very common problem that's starting to pop up on the line. This is a washed out area here. You can see they've stuck in some ties and things, and generally that's going to happen around culverts because they're going to plug, and if there's water flow, particularly in the spring or when there's heavy rainfall, things tend to get washed out. So here you can see we're kind of getting into a straight section, some rock work again. So I'm just checking my GPS. There's another one of those stone culverts around here somewhere, and this one actually works. I kind of looked for it on the outbound journey, but I think you actually need to. In the springtime you can hear it because you can hear the water running. This time of year it's a little bit more challenging because obviously there's no water running, and so it's in here somewhere. So generally, so here's another little tip here. There is a fiber optic cable, and you'll see this in the videos. I talk a lot about this, and we'll actually see a junction box further down. There is a fiber optic cable that's buried along the railway grade, and periodically you will see these little orange markers. So generally, those orange markers indicate where there's a culvert. Now there is no culvert marker, but let's carefully go down here. There, it's right there. It's right there. So it's dry right now. So this is probably one of the neatest things you'll see on this railway line, because this is original construction. I can't see through to the other side, but you can see how it's, well, you can see that on the camera, how it's constructed. It's just really, really neat to see these. So remember, this railway line was built between 1911 and 1914, so these go back quite a ways. Carefully extricate ourselves. Come on, Luna. An old pop can. 7-Up, look at that. Some of you might remember, I'm a 70s kid, so I remember those tops. All right, let's get ourselves out of here. All right, we're inching our way closer to Pass Lake Station here. So we're about to go through yet another rock cut. This one is interesting because it's very, very grown in. So there's not a lot of wiggle room as you go through the cut. Just trying to decide here which is the better side to go on. So you can see how grown in it is here with all these alders and such that are growing up alongside the grade. And here you can see the cut. There you can see it a little bit better. The south side is very obscured. One of the neat things you'll find as well, I always found, was that when you go through some of these rock cuts, how narrow they are. And you sort of think about, you know, the days when the trains were coming through here, and, you know, there was not a lot of wiggle room. you know, from the sides of the train and the cars and everything, from the locomotive and the cars to the sides of the rock cut. Not very forgiving. So here is yet more rock work. If I pull out this way, you can see a little bit better. It's on both sides. Again, it's just hard to see the south side. And more rock work here. Okay, Luna's still with us. We're kind of up to milepost 170 here. Very shortly we're going to go through another rock cut and then we'll be at 170. Here again you can see the nature of the geography here. The bottom of the valley down there is a ways down. You know, when you're kind of at treetop level with some of the trees, kind of gives you an indication of you know, how far down it is. So here, yet more rock work. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you see this stuff a lot better when the leaves are down. Again, you can see how grown in it is here in the rock cut. Again, simply just because the vegetation has nowhere to go. Maybe here you can get a little sense of the narrowness, and this is not even really narrow. There's areas where it's even more constricted. Ugh. Not good riding on the middle here. I think there's a culvert here. There's water comes cascading down the side there in the springtime. I think there's another culvert here somewhere. Okay, we're gonna, oh, it's right up here. We're gonna hold up here for a second. I need to do a battery check. Make sure we don't run out of juice before we finish the hike. There's the, sometimes you have to be adventurous here. Look where the milepost marker is. There's the culvert. Oh, I gotta watch my footing here. There's the milepost marker. 169. 94. All right, let's get ourselves reloaded here and finish her off. All right, let's finish this off here. So a couple things here. So here we're going through the continuation of a rock cut here. So we have two things here. So the first thing, we do have a milepost marker that's coming up, but again, we talked a little bit about some of the issues with the geology in this area. So you can see that there's been a massive, maybe not a massive, but a large collapse of the grade, the rock in this area here. So you can see that what's happened, I guess, over time, water has gotten in behind the rock, through cracks in the rock and through freeze thaw. It's basically sheared off this section of rock. Now, I know for sure when I was here in 2018, this was not here. This piece had not collapsed off. So this has only happened in the last 4 years. I think it happened, I'm trying to think if it was here in 2019, but certainly it's more of a recent thing. Now, so the milepost marker, what I love about this is, so you can see the mileage 170, but I don't know if you can make it out. This is actually a repurposed sign, because over here you can actually see it better. So you'll see that there's numbers behind that. And so you can actually see there's a 135 behind the 170 in a different size and different style of writing. So very, very indicative of the Kinghorn line, where because it was not a main line railway, often you see things being repurposed. So here, if I don't kill myself, here is the start of the siding. So basically the side track here at Pass Lake. The side tracks were always on the south side of the railway line. And so Pass Lake was a major station on this line. There was a water tank that was located here, and the water tank was in use, I want to say, really from the beginning. So from 1915, when the line opened, right up until the end of the 1950s, when steam locomotives were phased out. And so you can see here the ballast is a little thicker. You can actually see the siding very well. You can see sort of this bump out on the side of the grade. And so basically Pass Lake gets its name from the geography of this area. So when they were building the line, the original name for this station was supposed to be the Pass, and the reason why it was called the Pass is just to the east of us here, sorry, to the west of us. Maybe you'll see it when we sort of come out. When they were surveying the line, this line sort of hugs the shore of Lake Superior, east out of Thunder Bay, and then when you basically get here, you have the Sibley Peninsula, these rock ridges that we've been kind of going along, and the only way through it was this sort of narrow little valley, again just to the west there, where they had to sort of cut through, and that's the reason why they had to go around this whole ridge. Well, they didn't want to blast through it, but that was the only passageway through. And so originally it was supposed to be called the Pass, and then it became Pass Lake. And I don't know if the name of the state, the name of the lake was there already, or how that all kind of played out. So around here somewhere was the quote-unquote station at Pass Lake. There was no station, there was no actual building. There were actually very few stations, station buildings on this line, just simply because it wasn't that of an important line, and there wasn't really a ton of passenger traffic. So essentially this was just kind of like a little flag stop. See here, you can feel it's a lot windier. The wind kind of blowing through the valley here. So we've got a couple things coming up here, and this is basically the end of our little field work. So here, right in here somewhere, it's hiding because it's all grown in. There you can see the orange on the top. So this is, I mentioned there is a fiber optic cable that runs alongside the grade. It's kind of an important one. And so every once in a while you'll find junction boxes. So this is one of those junction, oh, it's all wet in here. So there's a junction box, so 170.33. Luna's having a drink. Now, just up here, and it's not here, which is kind of very disconcerting for me. Right here, right where you see that edge of that rock cut, there used to be a speed marker. There used to be a speed sign indicating the change in speed as the trains were leaving the station here. Maybe I'll flash a picture up. It was right here. I'm guessing somebody took it, which is kind of sad. But it was literally right here as you're passing this cut here. So here you can hear the traffic passing. So we're getting close to the highway. So right where the railway grade comes up against the highway. So just up here, you're going to see a structure coming up on the south side of the grade to my left. That is the old section house. So basically where the crews that looked after this section of railway grade would have stayed. And there was a water tank, as I mentioned. I'm still in the process of trying to figure out where it was. The big problem that is in this area is that there's a lot of rockfall. And so over the years, there's a lot of rocks that have come down here. You can see there's an old pole, an old marker, and here you can see a power box for some of the equipment that used to be here. So the meter. So right around here somewhere was the water tank. Just right here. Here you can see the section house. So if you actually go to my website, and I'll put a link here, you can see there was a piece of equipment here. And you see the little metal tub, the little metal riveting there. So there is a picture that shows the section house here at Pass Lake and the water tower. Again, I gotta come back here and try to see if I can locate some sort of vestige of that, because it is there. All right, Luna, come here. Luna, come here. All right, so this wraps up today's adventure, and we'll turn it back to the